we carry with us a century of history. It's in the hours we work and the time we have off. It's in the pay we get and the retirement we've earned. There's history in the coats on our backs, in the equipment we use, and even in the air that we breathe. Because every piece of gear we have, every benefit we enjoy, was won for us by our brothers and sisters brave enough to stand together and fight like no other union in North America, and to secure for each of us a better future. In the 1900s, firefighters controlled the fastest teams of horses. They knew the power and the danger of steam pumpers. They endured the hardship of the fire line and put up with a life of continuous duty schedules. But when political hacks threatened to sack experienced firefighters and hand out firehouse jobs to loyal cronies, professional firefighters said enough. The city was Pittsburgh, the year 1903. In time, its firefighters would be IAFF Local 1. Though some firefighter unions were well established in major cities like New York, across Canada and the United States, a new sense of unity was growing, helped by the newly formed American Federation of Labor. Firefighter organizations from big cities, Chicago, Vancouver, Seattle, Cleveland, and Hamilton, and small towns, Great Falls, Sioux City, Little Rock, and Schenectady, independently affiliated with the AFL. And in 1917, when firefighters in Tacoma, Washington, after years of always being on duty, finally won a 2-platoon schedule, they said they felt like they'd been let out of jail. Their union strength broke the backs of the city politicians. 6 months later, on February 28, 1918, delegates from 24 U.S. and Canadian firefighter locals, at the invitation of AFL President Samuel Gompers, met in Washington, D.C. to form the IAFF, the International Association of Firefighters. IAFF local numbers were assigned in the order in which each had affiliated with the AFL. The first 2 locals had joined the same day. They flipped a coin. Pittsburgh became IAFF Local 1, and Chicago, IAFF Local 2. Professional firefighters had common goals: live and work with dignity, with care for their safety, and concern for their families. By the time our charter was presented, 59 locals had joined, and by the end of the first year, there were 149. Organizing was not easy. Anti-union business and political interests preyed on public fears of socialism and anarchy, banning and breaking some IAFF locals. Many men suffered departmental persecution, demotion, and even discharge when they dared to stand up for the cause of unionism. But every fire department that organized with the IAFF noted a significant increase in firefighter morale and in operating efficiency. World War I ended, and out of that horror came new ideas and new inventions that could help firefighters work better and safer. Mechanical engines and pneumatic tires meant quicker, better response, lowering the loss of life and property. But even in the prosperity of the Roaring '20s, local governments were slow to accept change. 2-platoon system firefighters often worked over 80 hours a week. In 1921, the IAFF joined with other unions to form a permanent AFL Legislative Council. They knew political decisions affected their jobs. By 1924, most firefighters in Canadian provinces were successful in negotiating hours of work and pensions. Then came the Great Depression. Employers had a take-it-or-leave-it posture toward pay and even safety. During the Depression, the IAFF spirit of community service shone through as firefighters organized sunshine divisions, bringing food and clothing to those in need. And there were innovations. Two-way radios meant better control, and improved breathing equipment meant better protection for firefighters as they went into burning buildings to save a life or fight the fire. And we made political gains. Defined benefit plans were won by many of our locals, such as Chicago, where the Firemen's Annuity and Benefit Fund of Chicago was established in 1931. Under defined benefit plans, cities were required to make guaranteed contributions, which kept money out of the hands of hungry politicians and kept benefits in the pockets of firefighters. Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal brought real job protections. Civil service laws shortened work hours and raised pay. Labor laws protected workers and their right to organize. But firefighters had no collective bargaining power to negotiate and enforce contracts. It would take 30 years to fight and win collective bargaining. And even then, it would be on a state-by-state basis. Because of the dangers of the job, the IAFF pioneered medical research into heart and lung disease. In 1935, our union assisted Pennsylvania locals in winning the first Officer Disability Benefit Heart and Lung Act. 1940. With Nazi troops occupying the European continent, bombs rained on Great Britain. Hundreds of our members joined the Canadian Firefighter Corps and went to England to fight the fires from Hitler's bombers. When the United States was attacked at Pearl Harbor, Congress declared war, and IAFF members proudly fought and joined with their Allied brothers. For the first time, federal firefighter locals, 8 of them, organized with the IAFF. Some cities used the war against firefighters. They argued that firefighters had the right to organize, but a wartime strike would be nothing less than a treasonous conspiracy against the government. Victory. When the war ended, those who came back found fire service jobs waiting for them, even disabled veterans, all because of our union. In 1948, the IAFF was 1,000 locals strong. A great union is more than just numbers. And as the IAFF grew, so did our service to firefighters and our communities. In 1954, we adopted the Muscular Dystrophy Association as our charity in the United States and Canada. Since then, we've raised $500 million to help fund research and treatment to fight muscular diseases. The dangers of the job are well known, because this union has led the investigations into the occupational hazards of firefighting. In 1958, we formed the IAFF John P. Redmond Foundation that established a medical library to assist locals in the presentation of disability and pension cases. In 1960, IAFF delegates supported a resolution calling for a 35-hour duty week. And this work paid off as we began to win shorter duty hours in many areas of the U.S. and Canada.
We choose to go to the moon.
Our profession was also shaped by social and political change. What we learned about saving lives on the battlefield, we brought to civilians on the street. Victims of accidents, trauma, and cardiac arrest, once doomed to death in a ditch, were literally given back their lives by firefighters.
We're going to take you to the hospital real quick, okay?
Our communities received the same rapid response from specially trained firefighter EMTs and paramedics for medical emergencies as they had received for fire suppression. On the political front, from state to state, firefighters were fighting for collective bargaining and winning, first in the state of Wisconsin, and then Washington and New York. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Massachusetts, and Iowa would soon follow. Nationally, the IAFF scored a major legislative victory in 1968 with passage of the Federal Fire Research Act. The law focused attention on fire safety problems and led to establishment of the National Fire Academy. And 4 years after the first maple leaf flew above Parliament, the IAFF opened its office in Ottawa for IAFF members throughout Canada. Our union was growing in strength and numbers. By 1968, we totaled 130,000 members in 1,300 locals. Just 4 years later, over 158,000 belonged to the IAFF. We knew that our members' lives and livelihoods could be changed by the actions of government, and we stepped up our political activity, creating Fire PAC to represent firefighter issues in federal, state, and provincial political arenas. When President Gerald Ford signed the Public Safety Officers Benefits Act, we had won an 8-year battle to help families of firefighters killed in the line of duty. But our concern didn't end there. In 1977, we established McLennan Scholarships that would help with the costs of higher education for the children of firefighters who had been killed in the line of duty. The IAFF at 60 was a force for change, a good neighbor in the communities we serve, and a powerful advocate in the realm of politics. Live and work and retire with dignity. On any given day, this union is fighting the battles to win or protect firefighter benefits. In 1979, the IAFF won legislation that created IRS Code 457, which established deferred compensation plans for firefighters. Participation in these plans provides firefighters supplemental income at retirement. Once again recognizing that jobs and politics go hand in hand, in 1980, the IAFF held its first annual legislative conference. The research and guidance of the IAFF led national associations and federal, state, and provincial agencies to write and enforce standards that protect firefighters, including fire brigade organization, training, and better turnout gear. We were the driving force in the development and use of pass alarms. This simple warning device has helped us save firefighter lives on the fire ground every day since. By the early 80s, most state associations had already won heart and lung presumptive laws. And in 1982, California became the first state in the U.S. to have a cancer presumption law, because the IAFF and the California Professional Firefighters won its passage. Prior to 1985, there was no federal standard or requirement that firefighters had to receive overtime for extended work hours. That year, the Supreme Court ruled that the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act applied to state and local municipal employees. In response, the IAFF worked to pass FLSA amendments requiring overtime for IAFF members. 1986 brought passage of U.S. federal and state laws that protected us from the risk of exposure to hazardous materials. Firefighters now had the right to know what was stored or carried that could harm the public. In 1987, we established the IAFF Human Relations Committee to create dialogue within our ranks on the issues that impact and reflect the diversity of our membership. And we pushed for a comprehensive safety and health standard for firefighters in NFPA 1500. And we won funding for training and equipment to reduce uncontrolled risk of toxic exposures that had already injured or killed many of our brothers and sisters. Every year since 1985, we have honored the memory of those brothers and sisters who have made the ultimate sacrifice, at the IAFF Fallen Firefighter Memorial in Colorado Springs. In May 1991, the first Canadian Legislative Conference met to discuss the need for PSOB laws for our 20,000 members. In 1996, 10 fire departments and 10 IAFF locals from both Canada and the United States joined together with the IAFF and IAFC to establish a program of wellness and fitness. And at the same time, they agreed to standards which establish the non-punitive Candidate Physical Ability Test, CPAT. The decade ended with the tragic loss of 6 IAFF members in Worcester, Massachusetts, during a fire in an abandoned cold storage warehouse. The funeral was attended by the President and Vice President of the United States. The turn of the century began a momentous period in which our union would advance further than ever before. It was the start of a new era, applying 21st century knowledge and technology to support the principles upon which this union was established, to live and work with dignity, with care for the safety of our members, and concern for the well-being of their families. Often, in our profession, unthinkable tragedies have been the catalyst for historic gains. The terrorist attacks that brought down the Twin Towers changed our job forever. The IAFF immediately began providing assistance to our members still working at Ground Zero and the Pentagon, and to the families of the fallen. We have distributed more than $162 million to the families of those killed that day. We will never forget. As a direct result of this tragedy, our union created a blueprint for providing immediate financial and emotional support for IAFF members after devastating losses following hurricanes, flooding, wildfires, tornadoes, and other disasters. We track storms to identify IAFF members in the path of disaster, and we respond quickly. Wherever there's a need, the IAFF is there. In 2011, we refocused all of our charitable work, placing it under the umbrella of the newly formed IAFF Charitable Foundation. The foundation's inaugural gala raised more than $800,000. This year, at our 100-year Gold and Black Gala, we will raise more than $1.4 million to strengthen the foundation. And in 2015, the IAFF rededicated and expanded Fallen Firefighter Memorial in Colorado Springs to contain the names of all members who died in the line of duty since 1918. As we investigated firefighter fatalities, it became clear that inadequate staffing was a factor in line-of-duty injuries and deaths. Through our efforts, Congress continued to support the Fire Act and passed the SAFER Act, making it possible to hire, retain, and rehire more than 20,000 firefighters. In Canada, the IAFF won funding for hazmat and terrorist incident response training programs and fought for pension reform and presumptive disease legislation. Early in this new century, the IAFF made another innovative move, creating our own financial corporation, a for-profit enterprise owned by our membership to provide solid financial services at a discount to our members, while creating additional revenue streams for our union. The IAFF also established E18 Media, your rapid response team for full-service audio and video production, that ties in directly to the IAFF's communications and strategic campaigns team, providing our affiliates with full-service public relations and communications needs, reaching members and the public through print, the web, social media, and broadcast to get our message out early and often. And we built the Guardian Policy legal program to protect the leaders of our affiliates who have been unfairly disciplined for doing their job protecting our members. In the political arena, the endorsement of our gold and black IAFF Firefighters 4 political brand is sought after by candidates at all levels, regardless of political party. And when combined with our political action committees, FirePAC and FirePAC Canada, our political voice, brand, and financial power have made our union one of the most powerful political operations, fighting and winning for our members in elections and on ballot measures that affect firefighter and paramedic jobs, health and safety, rights at work, and the right to a secure retirement. We lobby in the U.S. Congress and Canadian Parliament, and at every level of state, provincial, and local government. The IAFF's unmatched expertise has enabled our states and provinces to win and amend presumptive disease laws and regulations that currently protect our members in 42 states, 7 provinces, and 2 territories. We're working tenaciously to expand cancer presumptive protections to the states that don't yet have them, and add coverage for more cancers and behavioral health related to the job. Throughout this century, the IAFF has worked tirelessly to empower leaders and members through education. The IAFF created the Affiliate Leadership Training Summit in 2001. And now, each year, we train more than 1,400 leaders to provide the best representation in the labor movement. Every other year, this summit is combined with the Human Relations Conference, bringing hundreds of us together to learn and exchange ideas about ways to make this great profession more accessible to everyone.
Work together and build together.
We launched our Canadian Political Training Academy in 2011 and our Communication Training Academy in 2015 to train IAFF leaders and members in communication and campaign strategies. These annual events are modeled after our incredibly successful U.S. Political Training Academy, which has already helped more than 300 of our own win election to public office. And we conduct many other education efforts, not only in political action, but also partnership education, district, state, and provincial caucuses, and wildland training. Our groundbreaking Fireground Survival Program trains our members in cities all across both countries in how to protect their lives when they get trapped in a bad situation in a fire. The Wellness Fitness Initiative has changed the way firefighters approach physical and behavioral health. Today, more than 6,000 certified peer fitness trainers are available to help IAFF brothers and sisters recover from injuries and stay on the job. This IAFF has also engaged in a comprehensive campaign to raise standards and protections for our members and public safety to assure safe, efficient, and effective fireground operation and to protect firefighter lives. And now, when local governments propose compromises in standards or staffing that threaten public safety, we have science and national standards to state our case, and we win. Above all, this IAFF has focused its resources and efforts on improving members' safety to ensure that everyone goes home in good health. We're working to protect you from cancer by understanding the cause and effect of the toxic exposures you experience every day on the job, by developing protocols for prevention, cutting-edge monitoring, by looking at innovative research for detection and treatment, and by establishing a national cancer registry. We want to ensure that all IAFF members can work an entire career and live to enjoy what they've earned from the service they've given. we are leading the way in bringing behavioral health issues out of the shadows and into the light with the IAFF Center of Excellence. Peer support for members involved in life-changing incidents, grief counseling, and many other initiatives to treat post-traumatic stress, substance abuse, addiction, depression, or anxiety. Today, in our 100th year, the IAFF is 313,000 members strong, organized in more than 3,400 active locals, and representing nearly 90% of the full-time professional firefighters and paramedics in the United States and Canada. Backed by a century of progress through unity, the IAFF will continue to fight and win for the next 100 years. Wherever and whenever our members need the strength of our youth.